appreciate you being here. It's a gorgeous Friday afternoon in Portland, Oregon. It can't get any better. Before we get started today, I want to thank my buddies at 5 Star Guitars out in Beaverton for sponsoring the show. They hooked me up with this beautiful Audix microphone, and right now they're able to book you for appointments to get you in for lessons, repairs. They also have their store open by appointment to sell you some great guitars. So check them out at www.5starguitar, or you can go in and check 5 Star Guitars, plural, or check them out in Beaverton. I also want to let everybody know that if you have not yet, go to www.abductedbythe80s.com, which was a virtual concert as a relief fund for Direct Relief, a nonprofit that handled funds directly to the COVID-19 frontline workers. So EMTs, firefighters, medical professionals all benefited from the virtual concert that featured A Flock of Seagulls, Wang Chung, Animotion, Naked Eyes, New Shoes, Nelson, The Escape Club, and more. If you go to www.abductedbythe80s.com, you can get event t-shirts where all of those proceeds go to the Direct Relief Fund. And you can also get a bunch of swag from the bands that performed and help them sustain themselves while they're not out touring. You can also sign up because there's another Abducted by the 80s event coming up called Six String Salute that features Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Jennifer Batten, and the world's greatest guitarists in a similar virtual concert format. So go to www.abductedbythe80s.com, sign up on their mailing list, and you'll get entered into contest drawings and also find out about the Six String Salute coming up. Now, business is done. Friday afternoon, most of you guys, if you're working, you can shut down for the day and get ready to rock your ass off, because the biggest up and coming band out of the Pacific Northwest features an all-star group of dudes that I absolutely love. Cats that I've played in bands with before, cats that I've grown up admiring and respecting and being inspired by. And you're the lucky ones that get to hang out with us on a Friday afternoon. We're going to find out what happens when Loyal Order hits the market. I want to thank Kyle Baltus, Jeff Buhner, Brandon Cook, Patrick Young, and Justin Gibson for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Loyal Order.
How's it going, Kevy?
It's fantastic.
Good to see you, man.
I'm glad to see you guys. You doing well?
Yeah, everything's great, dude.
I almost pretend like we're all in the same room here, right? So we got Kyle by the fireplace. He's roasting marshmallows. So is everybody in Portland right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Jeff, you've been going back and forth to LA to help get things kicked off with the record, right? The upcoming record.
Yep.
So for those of you that don't know, when I had set the promo up for this, I sent a link to the video for Ready for Dead. Ready for Dead was the first single that you guys released. There's a video out there that hit the 1 million view mark on Facebook. Yes, and you've got a lot of traction happening that people should know about if they haven't already heard it. So once we're done with this, I'll make sure you've got a link to the video. You can also go to theloyalorder.com, right? You can find out about the band. But tell me about how this band started out. Jeff, why don't you start?
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, it all started out when a friend of mine came to me, through a friend, Jeff Coxon, came to me and he asked, he said, "Hey, I heard you're the guy to talk to about, about writing a song that I need." And he needed a theme song for a hunting reality show that he was doing. And I immediately called Brandon and said, "Hey, dude, I need a hard, heavy guitar riff. Let me know what you come up with." And it took him about, 2 days or something like that. And he hit me back, and we went into Kevin Hahn's studio and started to track it and lay some scratch for it to see if Jeff Coxon would be into the song that we had. And I at that time decided to start writing lyrics for the song, and a melody and a chorus and everything. And the guys liked it. Brandon and Kevin liked it. And so we went into the studio. I wanted to record a scratch track for it, a scratch vocal track, because we're going to, see about who was going to come sing it. Anyway, Brandon and Kevin really liked how it sounded and thought that I should do it. So that's kind of how it all started. And our first song went on a regional cable television show for 2 years, actually. So our first song actually got some attention, and then from there we kept kind of just having song ideas and putting them down, and we ended up Kevin got really busy with some stuff, so we ended up doing some other songs over at Rob's. So after the first 3 we did with Kevin, we went over to Rob's and just kind of took it from there. And but yeah, it originally was just supposed to be a studio project, and it kind of grew from there, and all of a sudden we had a record put together. and then we decided to take it to another level.
And by another level, what was your plan?
Well, we decided we'd finish the record and release it, and things started coming together, and we released the music video, Ready for Dead, and that got some good traction. And I met Tom Hazart, Brandon and I met Tom Hazart at we met Tom Hazart down at the NAMM show, and it went to a Megadeth listening party, and met Dave Mustaine and all those guys, and from there I showed Tom the video. Took about a year's time went through there, and then I showed Tom the video and asked him if he'd be interested in helping us out, putting it out there and doing his thing. And so he helped us do that, and it took off even further. And like I said, it's just like you said, it's we just hit 1 million views last week with it. So
when you mentioned that you and Brandon met Tom Hazard down at the NAMM show last year,
it was 2 years ago.
Okay. So for somebody that might not know, what does Tom do in the industry that can make something like that happen?
Well, Tom has worked with a lot of the major record labels for PR and helping out with whatever it took to bring them to the public and take them to a different level. And Tom works with David Ellefson from Megadeth, the bass player, and they also have a band called Ellefson that's doing really well. They're kicking butt right now. And but Tom is he's just the name in rock and roll, especially in that format. And he's just been really helpful. And they have EMP label group together, and Combat Records as well, which is an old thrash label from San Francisco, I believe. But they're just kind of really helping the industry out by bringing bands together, and and putting them out there as well as they can, and they're quite selective about it, but it's they're doing a good thing, those guys. They're just amazing human beings to work with, man. They're so cool. Yeah, they're really great.
Hey, Brandon, Jeff just mentioned that initially, before you guys actually put the video together, and it was going to be this recording project for the TV show, the hunting show, and mentioned that you guys just would kind of bounce song ideas back and forth. So how does that work? Do you guys get together in a room and just say, hey, I got this riff, or do you send each other files, or what's the plan?
Well, I mean, it's really takes all forms. I mean, like there's been times where we talk about a riff for 2 or 3 hours, just like what we want to do with it. And then we get together and, throw ideas back and forth. And then I'll take the guitar part that we come up with together and kind of flesh it out a little bit, create some twists and turns. And he'll be thinking about his vocals and the arrangement and stuff like that. I think it needs this, and call me up and we'll talk again for another couple hours. There are times like when we first started this, really trying to find the direction of the way the music would go, we'd be up till 3, 4 in the morning, just like jamming on riffs, just spinning out yarns until we couldn't think anymore. And, all the way up until we started working with Rob, we did it pretty much that way. And then it was easier for us at that point because we knew kind of what, Rob wanted us to do. We'd come in to each other with almost fully formed ideas. Like he'd be like, hey, I got this idea. And I'd be like, man, that just inspired this whole thing. And a whole thing would come out in one sitting. So, the creative process for us has been all kinds of different stuff. And then he'll send me a riff when he's in LA, or I'll send him a riff while I'm on the road, doing something, and we'll get together and work on it. And it just really is it's one of the easiest writing situations I've ever had, because Jeff thinks different than I do. So we're not thinking the same way. We're complementing each other, and it constantly gets this revolution of oh, what if we did it this way? What if we did it that way? And then Rob sort of takes it from there and makes us sort of make final decisions on stuff. Okay. He makes suggestions, but mostly it's Jeff and I going, no, I want this. And, and it really helps keep the creative process moving forward, you know, to work with a producer like Rob, because he actually can see the end product, because he knows how to think that way. It's like, well, if you do that, then I can't do this over here. So we have to and track this way or whatever. And it makes me sometimes rethink my guitar parts, or Jeff rethinks a whole vocal part. Like example, on one of our tunes called Half-Life, we had this whole song written out. It was ready to go, ready to record. And then we recorded it. And Rob was like, this isn't going to work. And we had to rewrite the entire vocal part except for the chorus. And it turned out way better just because he sort of had a vision for the way the song went.
Okay, let me ask you about that particular scenario. I know Rob has a gift. He really does, man. There's something about Rob Dacre, the way that he can produce a band of any style. He's so good with this. So when he comes to you and says, hey, that's not going to work, what is it about it? Is it, the chord structure is wrong, or what does he see in the vision that's not applicable to that song? What doesn't work? How does he tell you and communicate it so that he doesn't say, hey, have you guys, put up the defenses and say, dude, we're the artists, don't tell me what to do? What's Rob's method there?
Well, like the first song we did was The River. And what I could say, like, Jeff has a certain way of the way he hears a song being, and I have a certain way, because I come from like the progressive rock background, and I think Jeff is definitely more in like hard rock, more straight ahead. So when we first worked on The River, I had this big, long, 10 years gone kind of Zeppelin arrangement going. And, that's not really how Jeff hears melodies. Then, so I had to kind of like, I guess I was a little offended, but I didn't know how to deal with it. So I just listened,
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I got to work my way through this, because it's not working the other way. Spinning the melody wasn't working out for Jeff that way.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, these guys they have a vision, so I'm going to follow it. And like before the end of that session, it went from kind of offended to like, holy fuck, this is, oh wait,
it's all good.
Well, this is actually 100 times better than I personally envisioned it, because I had forced that other vision, we wouldn't have got anything done. It wasn't allowing the creative process to work. So, that's where like the growing process of writing came for me with working with Rob. And Rob's he was very understanding. He's like, look, I know this is your baby and we're kind of tearing it apart, but I think it's going to work better this way. So you got to trust me a little bit. And, let's keep trying. I think we got something going here. All the parts are great. It's just not the arrangement. So, we worked the arrangement in a way that really connected. And then all of a sudden, as soon as we hit the arrangement, Jeff's melodic ideas just went.
Wow.
So,
you mentioned trust, and that word is really key, right? I think when you're working with a producer, when you're working with bandmates, like trust and communication is so critical, right? So the communication method that Rob was giving you in a way that could make the song better at first might put your wall up a little bit, but like any relationship, we've all been in, intimate relationships with people that our feelings get hurt. So you put the wall up and all of a sudden the communication stops and the growth stops, right? So it's great that you recognized it. And I think having known each and every one of you guys in different environments, it's amazing to me that this assemblage happened for this band, because, people outside the scene that don't know, these are like five of the greatest musicians that you're going to find. It's the perfect collective of driving hard rock professionals, man. All these guys have so much history with other bands in different styles of music, but it really seemed to come together in such a great way, man. I'm wondering how, like, who decided, okay, we're going to take this from a recording project for a video and a TV show, and let's make a band out of this that we can actually perform live. Was that Jeff? Was that you, Brandon? Whose idea was this to flesh it out to a group?
I don't want to speak too much here, but like what I felt was we kind of looked at each other and went, I guess we got to do a band.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
the reactions we were getting from people were so good, that we couldn't believe like the reception we got. The very first time we played our song Off the Grid for people, the theme show the theme song that we put out, the reaction we got was like, oh my God, this is such amazing music. You guys got to do a band. And we were like, we do? Okay. So, and I think maybe it was like, maybe a forethought that we might do something like that. But at the time it was still just studio. So as time went on and we tried to put together, you know, the lineups and stuff like that, it really didn't totally take band form until we decided to start working with Rob.
Yeah.
And he really definitely like made us kind of focus towards a record.
Okay.
And so,
I was just going to say, again, for those of you that don't know, primarily for the last few decades, Jeff Buhner here, he's been a bass player. Not a lot of people knew that this guy could sing, right? And this is a voice that you kind of discovered in yourself the last few years, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a new tool, that's for sure. You know, when all this started to happen, I was just like, wow, can I actually do this? And I've been surrounded by amazing vocalists my entire, ever since I've been playing music, like guys like Jeff Carroll. I mean, you can put him right up there against Chris Cornell, or, Michael Armando and the Dragonflies. I mean, that guy's just phenomenal singer, like, very classically trained. And I was like, wow, I will never be that. But I just kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, I got something to say. And if I say it perfect, that's great, but I doubt I will, and that's all right too. It's you just got to put it out there, and do your best. And I found guys like, like Dave Grohl. I mean, what a, like, he's the drummer, and he ended up with a drummer in Nirvana and ended up being this amazing front guy,
Right.
And he's definitely got something to say, and so guys like Dave kind of, watching him gave me permission to, at least try to step forward and put my best foot forward, actually, and see if I could pull it off.
It's a risk, but it has been a great surprise. I know that everybody in this area said, wow, this guy, he's not just a guy trying to figure out how to front a band. The first show that you guys did in town, I was so excited to go down at Soundcheck and see this band. Like, it was, okay, Portland, this is something new and this is big. I was really excited to see my buddy Kyle Baltus back there on drums, man. This, Kyle, you want to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about, because you've been touring forever with 36 Crazy Fists and been wearing a few other hats, man. And how did the Loyal Order thing come to you this way?
Honestly, man, I didn't really know it was even a thing until the Ready for Dead video came out.
Okay.
And I heard it and I saw it and I was just like, wow, this is a really cool sound. And then I was talking to Brandon one night. Brandon was playing and I was up there watching him, and he showed me a little bit more of the tunes, and I was just like, I think Jeff was at the show as well, but I just told both of them, like, hey man, if you guys need a drummer, like, I would love to do this, and they were kind of like, well, you're so busy. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm busy, but like, when I have the time, like, I want it to go here. Like, the sound is so cool. I had no idea Jeff could sing,
right?
And his voice just awesome to me. And there's like just something about the style of the songs, like, it's moody and it's rock and roll and it's very in my wheelhouse. And I just thought that it would be so fun to work with these guys, and that I just really, really love the song. So
that's cool.
Like, dude, yeah, me.
It's funny, as a drummer, it's really hard for me to go to a show and to not just geek out and watch the drums all night long. With you guys, you're all my bros. I've watched you in so many other projects that it's kind of like watching an all-star cast on a movie, and maybe one person is typecast in a movie, and so it's distracting. But if you have, an Ocean's 11, you've got 5 or 6 different, stars in a movie, it's kind of cool. That's the way this band is. It's kind of like a super group in a way, for me. But everybody really lends themselves to make this group, the whole, being greater than the sum of its parts. You can tell that, I mean, all of you guys have chops, but the stuff is laid out in a way that really you complement each other when you're playing on stage, and Justin, man, it's so cool to watch the 2 guitar thing between you and Brandon, because you're both incredible lead guitarists, but you complement each other where you're doing the dual lead and dual rhythm stuff in perfect tandem. And you've worked together in the past before too, right?
Yeah, actually my history with Brandon goes back pretty far at this point. So, I mean, going way back to the beginning, I took lessons with Brandon for about a year when I was in high school, and he taught lessons in my hometown in Oregon City, and when I was 16, 17 years old, it's just like, I want to play faster. I want to play faster. And I know the guy down at Adrian Music that'll teach me that stuff. And but it was a lot more than that. And after a while, that was a short-lived thing. And Brandon went out on tour after that. I went on to school and had my own band in college that made some waves regionally down in the Oregon State Corvallis community. And throughout that entire process, I kept in contact with Brandon, and he was kind of a mentor to me on learning how to, play live. At that point, I was mostly a guy that played in my bedroom a lot, and I kind of got more of that, exposure on stage, and that kind of translated to after I was out of school and back in the Portland area. Brandon and I had been playing in his original project, State of Balance, which has kind of been an on and off thing for 10 years now. And that just kind of seemed to give way to being involved in this group.
The State of Balance thing, I hadn't thought about that connection between the two of you as guitarists, where you can really everybody knows that when there's one prominent lead guitarist in a band, that guy's the dude that steps up to the front of the stage, foot up on the amp, and he's doing his blistering solos. But you guys have this synergistic thing where there's one person moving forward, one person moving back. I've only gotten to see one live show from Loyal Order so far, so it'll be cool to see how dynamically this band evolves as time goes on and you guys get more time on stage. Man, somebody's that
I've only ever had one live show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then, this is a great opportunity for people to get to see.
And the funny thing is, like, we were talking about our friend Andrew Green earlier. Andrew had a birthday party in 2013, and Jeff came up to sing. Me and Justin played guitar on one of our old songs called Off the Grid, and Andrew played drums back then. So we actually had most of Loyal Order on the stage at that one time,
2013.
Yeah, that was right after the song had been released, and we were, kind of figuring out what we were going to do.
Okay.
But yeah, for State of Balance, like Justin and I, like, it was always he made it so easy for me to play. I've played with some rhythm guitar players in the past that played progressive metal and stuff like that, and it was always really hard to play with them. Justin had the same kind of work ethic about playing live guitar that I did. He really knows how to focus and get in there and play super, super tight. And like, I never felt like he wasn't supportive when I was playing a lead. He was never like showboating or doing anything like that. He was just focused. And then, when I gave him leads, he was always really great on stage. The State of Balance project was really just like my boutique sort of like, project that was all me, and I wrote all the tunes and stuff like that. But, working with him was so easy. It was just like, yeah, dude, take a solo, I totally want you to shine and have that stuff. So when it came time to choose a guitar player for this band, it really just made sense to have Justin because he's so great. I just have a growing even admiration for his playing and personality and attitude and everything. And I just knew it was going to work with what me and Jeff were doing. So it was a really great thing.
Yeah, man. It has worked thus far. I was talking about dynamic on stage, and I think one person I know in this lineup that has had so many opportunities on stage, back from the early 80s, man, Patrick Young, buddy, you sort of broke onto the Northwest scene with Black and Blue way back in the day, right?
Yeah, I had that little project on the side there for a while. But this is, we're here to talk about. No, anyway, yeah, but done a bazillion hours with those Black and Blue guys, and still doing it.
Yeah,
still doing it, and I've logged a little bit of stage time. So
yeah. you know, you're kind of the bass player that everybody sort of wants to have in their band for all sorts of reasons. You've got the
I don't know why.
well, you got you're a listening bass player. You're always listening, man. You really follow the drums. As a drummer, I know that there's a real killer opportunity to lock with somebody because you listen so much. You sing your ass off, and you know, it's anybody that goes to see you play knows by watching you that you've been on stage thousands of hours. You know, so it's not the guy that sits in his, you know, like bedroom and looks at the mirror and practices. But you know, that was like it really was for me. I thought if you were to say, okay, if we took a genre of music and we're going to put together like 5 guys, I don't know that I would have individually thought about each person lining up in this band until you see them all together and everybody seems to be, this is exact right lineup for this.
Well, when you see what I did in the Ready for Dead video, you'll know that,
That's crazy. Yeah, you look a lot different, man. You too, Kyle.
I look a little different. I moved a little different, but actually, what it's funny because that little side project that I do with Brandon, we were rehearsing one day about 6 feet that way, right over there, and he just asked me to play a riff. And I was just like, okay. And then we sat there and he taught me this riff, and it was a really heavy, fast riff. And I played it and we just worked on it, and he's like, oh, okay, cool. And went over it, did a couple things, and then it kind of spiraled from there that, you know, one of like the next rehearsals I had with him, he was like going, like, you know, what do you think about this? Maybe something you might want to do? And I was like going, God, I don't know. I never really thought about it, you know, because I knew the Loyal Order, but I'd only knew like 2 songs.
Right.
I didn't know that much about it at that time.
Well, it was secretive.
So, and then I started getting tag team from Jeff and Brandon asking me, talking to me about it, and
I asked you not to talk about the tag team with you and
don't take it there, bastard, you goddamn snooze. No, but I really just started listening to everything more. I really started listening to songs, and they started feeding me more songs. Going, oh, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I like the songs. I think the music's great in this band. I think it's really cool. It's different from anything else I've done before.
Right.
And I like it. It's heavier.
Yeah.
Than anything I've done too, and I like that aspect too, and I really think that Jeff has a really cool voice for this kind of stuff. That's the one thing that I had no idea Jeff could sing. Not like this. I seen him do background vocals, you know, and stuff, and then to really hear it, I'm like going, yeah, it's cool. What a cool sounding voice for this stuff. So that's what kind of really intrigued me into, you know, just dive in.
It wasn't a happy accident. I know, Jeff, you really worked at this thing. I mean, I know you did some formal training with a professional here in town to really hone your voice and find the strength in your voice and the proper way to sing.
Yeah.
And, which, you know, anybody that hears these songs knows that it's not like you can come out and sing like that without having some real protection in your, you know, your body beforehand. I mean, you try to sing like that right off the bat without warming up, and you know, you're going to blow your voice out, right? So
oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, once we did that first song and I tracked it and I sang it all wrong, you know, I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to use this. And once I started doing the formal training, I learned, you know, how to breathe properly, and I'm still training myself on how to, you know, it's muscle memory, you know, to position your, you know, breathing a certain way and where to place the note and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I'm learning, you know, it's a learning curve for me, you know, but it's a cool thing.
it's nice to be able to do it now with a bunch of killer seasoned pros behind you.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I told Brandon, I said, you know, I want to be surrounded with people far better than I, and that'll make me raise my own bar, you know? So.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, you know, having the lead singer, you know, one of the main songwriters be a bass player. And
Right.
it's good in some sense, and it's also a little odd, weird.
It's unorthodox for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 it is.
You know, like between, rhythm section is really important for me as a drummer, right? So, Patrick, had you and Kyle worked together in the past at all?
For about 10 minutes once.
Yeah. But
Well, when we were we were trying to figure out a drummer for that side project me and Brandon do, because as you talked to Pete the other day for about 10 hours, Pete's kind of busy with that little band that he's got, Rat or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And
So,
once in a while it conflicts with our schedule, and unfortunately he picks their shows over ours, like an asshole. And wait, this isn't PG, right? It's PG-13, right? We can say whatever we want.
your kids can watch it. It's okay.
But we had a few guys come in from around town to play with us. Well, even as you know, Kevin, on the first Monsters of Rock cruise that we did, Pete couldn't do it because he was out with Shanker.
That's right. Yeah.
And we had you come in and play with us too.
Yeah, for about 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, I know. It was fun. We're just, we're just trying out guys around town to see what might just click. And it's funny. Kyle was like, I hadn't played with him before. I didn't know much about him except for when I watched a video of 36 Crazy Fist, and I was like, wow, this kid's talented, man. This guy's just a natural born drummer. And he came in and played. I thought he was great. And then just our buddy Xavier from Buck Cherry kind of fell in our laps to him. He's been a Black and Blue buddy and fan for a long time, and he just kind of fell in our laps. So we just went, "Hey, Xavier, you want to do this?" And so that's why it didn't work out with Kyle, but that's where I got to first play with him, and I was like, God, this guy's a great drummer.
I don't think he missed out on too much. I know that guy has been so busy touring the last several years, man. Kyle, I've been lucky enough to get to see you out, with a couple of projects. And speaking of being busy, I mean, I don't know many drummers that have as many sort of irons in the fire that you do. But so how are you balancing out doing 36? And I mean, do you want to talk about your other project as well? Or?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to play with a lot of people. 36 is obviously my main gig, and we were busy forever. I've got another band in town that I play for called Ligature Marks. I've been filling in for a band called Light the Torch for the last couple tours that they've had. And then these guys. And so, yeah, I was pretty busy.
Yeah.
But, with all the COVID things, I'm not doing anything anymore.
Wait, what are you talking about? Hadn't heard anything about it.
Yeah,
What?
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, you can make that excuse all you want.
I balance it the best that I can, to be honest with you. 36 being like my priority. Like I go where they go when they go. So that has come into play a time or two before, where it's like, I really want to do this, but I just can't commit to it. So, but it seems to be working out fairly decent. Everyone kind of seems fully understanding of the situation, so everyone that I play with has always been supportive, and for me that's more important, because like I would hate to be like trying to juggle all these things if I'm just like causing problems for someone. So coming into it, everyone kind of knows that I'm there as much as I can be, and hopefully it's more than not, but you know how it is.
I do. So much of that is about communication, right? So like with any of you guys, man, it's not like any of you guys don't have a million kind of things that you have going on between, other work opportunities. And so that the best way that you can communicate, this is what I need, in order to be able to sustain myself and also still contribute to the band and be a collective. And so it seems like you guys have a really strong network of communication between you, and I talk about the trust thing, and there's so much respect that goes into that too. So the fact that you've all done so much outside of this, I would imagine that it helps the communication, because there's nobody that's green here. There's nobody that hasn't been on stage, hundreds of thousands of times. And so, as the trust factor, the respect, and listening to each other is obviously really key. At this point, there aren't many gigs booked for anybody right now, but you've got this radio play. So Jeff, tell me about, I know right now you guys have been like racing up the charts. You got Ready for Dead that's actually in the top 20 on some of the Billboard charts right now.
Yeah. It's right now actually on the Billboard Active Rock indicator chart. We're number 31.
Okay.
And on the Foundations chart, it's a SMR chart. We're number 16 on that one now, and that's
16,
their top.
wow.
That's their top 50. And yeah, it's been going really good, man. I'm super pleased with the reaction from the radio stations and everything has been really positive. I was just talking to I did an interview early this morning at 7 a.m. with a radio station in Mankato, Minnesota, and yeah, they're going to add us this week as well. So it's another ad that we got. And but yeah, man, it's going really good. And we're going to be kicking a new single off at radio as well. So we'll have 2 songs circulating in the active rock or modern rock.
When is that being released?
It's going to be in the next couple of weeks. It'll be introduced to radio.
Okay.
And so simultaneously Ready for Dead will still be, doing whatever it chooses to do, and hopefully Climb, and then we'll have Hellfire in the mix too. So that'll be a good thing. So and Hellfire is the song we just did a music video for as well. And that's going to be happening.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's all good.
You're going to go through the same channels to be able to release that. So you've got video that comes out and then help support that by pushing into radio.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. We're, working with Tom Hazard and all that stuff. And there's a guy named Eric at Concrete Entertainment. He's our radio guy. And there's a girl named Jody that has been, connecting us with radio stations for, and podcasters for interviews and stuff like that. And yeah, the song was played like, I think it was like 800 times last week and around the country. Yeah. So it's going really well.
Outside of your house though, how many times was it played?
2.
You've got your son downloading and loading on different platforms. Yeah.
No, I'm just really stoked. It's all over the country. A lot of stuff's happening in the Bible Belt, like in the Midwest there. It's just, man, it just really kind of took off there. And East Coast, and down there, there's some stuff in Florida, there's stuff in all along the eastern seaboard there's spotty radio stations that have grabbed it, and it's really cool. We were in actually some of their top 10 slots for whatever week it happened to be in, so it's going good.
It's funny that you guys have all been in different bands that have sort of been in this role, but oftentimes when a record takes off for a band, you go out and tour to support it, right? So there's a video, then you got a record out, then you go out and you tour to like crazy to support this album. Since we're all sort of in lockdown mode right now, and you're able to just continue to be productive, you got a video coming out, you're going to be pushing this radio single. How do you continue the momentum, keeping people interested in this stuff if you can't be out playing in front of them live?
Man, all we can do right now is focus on digital content, and that's all that we can do. So that's, we shot a music video during the COVID, lockdown time. I was literally, Rob Dicker shot the video actually. So it was Rob was our crew, and then me. I was sitting along. The guys came in individually and shot their part, and I was off to the side with a mask on and a bottle of alcohol mist, spraying the air in between takes and washing everything down. And it was a very interesting shoot, to say the least. But yeah, it turned out really cool, man. I'm stoked about it.
So it's digital content. You're pushing that out there. That's the way you can keep this sort of the new market that you develop. It's funny that a lot of the market that is in my wheelhouse, right? I play in a band that, was most known for their hits in the 80s. And so
Sure.
the people that I'm surrounded by oftentimes when I'm on tour are people that aren't really as familiar with new music, right? They're really still, living through a lot of stuff that they remember. So when you see a band come up like this, that is blowing up the radio charts and getting all this visibility on social media, it's exciting, right? Everybody
Yeah.
that's locked down is kind of yearning for, they're looking for something new.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so it almost could work to your benefit, right? That you've got a captive audience in it.
Yeah, totally, and capitalize on that time, and as far as putting new things out there and having more attentive listeners that aren't as busy as they normally are, is yeah, you can capitalizing on that time is super cool, and also capitalizing on that time doing the hard work behind the scenes and making all the connections and writing new songs, and I mean, we're ready to start writing the next record right now. You know what I mean? And the further we can get down the street with that before the live music thing starts to happen, it's a cool thing. Right now we're looking at a couple live shows, one in Texas potentially, and one up here with Loudness in November.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of cooking there. And then I got some feedback from one of my business contacts down in Los Angeles, and he's been trying to help us out. And his name's Sat Bisla. He's a amazing, like iconic figure in the business world of music. And but basically, yeah, he's doing that. And so he got back to me yesterday and said that there's a company in Germany that he's talking to that's pretty interested in working with us. So, and they work with some of the big names, like Lenny Kravitz and the Hollywood Vampires and people like that. So I mean, I don't know where that's going to go or anything, but it's just kind of cool to be able to get some of that information in. By the way, I hadn't told any of the guys that yet.
Yeah, no, it's good. The world premiere.
Hey guys, guess what?
It's good to keep the irons in the fire.
I was pretending like I already knew.
Yeah, nice. Everybody nods. Well,
Segue into surprise look.
Speaking of irons in the fire, I know that Kyle is going to have to jump off here in a second, and so I want to make sure that people know the drummer of the Loyal Order happens to be one of the guests on tomorrow's drummer featurette that we've got for All Access Live. So Andrew Green, local drummer, is going to be my co-host for a group of drummers in this region, and Kyle's going to be one of those featured drummers. So if you're going to miss a little bit of his smiling face today, you get to come back on tomorrow at this time. And we're going to do some hanging. We're going to talk about a little more in-depth drumming stuff. So I appreciate you taking some time today, Kyle.
Kyle, where the hell you got to go? Where are you going?
He's got a chimney sweep.
I love you guys.
I love you too. Hey, thank you so much for being here, buddy. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Kyle. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Peace out.
I don't think he really does have to chimney sweep, but I couldn't resist with the with the fireplace behind him. So yeah.
Mom's making him clean the chimney. Yeah.
Oh well, his dad actually just chimed in a little bit talking about the Killer Rhythm section and the killer band they get to back, which is nice to see on Facebook. Oh, that's really not nice. Tim, his dad says, I need some weeds pulled. Man, us drummers can never get a break, dude. It's a good thing my dad's not on Facebook. Yikes. My friend Ginger Aarons, Jeff, you know her well. She said she really wants to send you over to Dublin. So I definitely think you guys would be amazing in Europe for sure. Wow.
Yeah. It's that'd be a great thing to do, man. I love the thought of being over there,
Yeah.
I've been over there twice, Stockholm twice and London twice, and I'd like to see everything in between,
There's quite a bit in between. Pardon me for a second. This that interruption. I have just a funny story to tell you guys about formative years of our band. When I was 16, just starting to play drums, I was sneaking into these bars in Montana to see this incredible band that did all the unorthodox cover tunes, right? So the stuff that we would all do now just to kind of satisfy our own stuff, but nobody in the crowd would really get into it. So the first time I ever heard La Via Strangiato from Rush was from this band,
Oh, wow.
And they haven't played together in like 30 years, and they're going to reunite just on my show. And so that was them calling back to confirm, which is kind of an exciting thing for me.
That's awesome, dude.
They were the first band to bring me up on stage, right? And at that point, I felt like, I made it big in the local scene of Bozeman, Montana. But
Yeah, Patrick
Anyway.
plays that. Patrick plays Livia Strangiato perfect.
Yeah, all parts
If
of
you
it.
want to bust it out, Patrick, let's see it.
Bass,
Let me
drums,
grab my
and guitar.
bass. Hold on a
Yeah.
second. Let me go grab my bass.
How long has it been since you guys have actually gotten to stay to be in a rehearsal room together, where you've actually gotten to shed tunes, like all 5 of you?
How long has it been?
Yeah,
Well, back in the day, it
right.
was. No, it's well, gosh, it's been at least 3 months or 4 months since we've even been. You know, we had a couple meetings and stuff since then, but then when all this crap happened, we were all set to get back into rehearsals, and then COVID hit. You know, and so it's been really tough doing that. You know, we've had a couple Zoom meetings and that type like we're doing right now.
Right.
But yeah, we're anxious to get kicking on it again though, you know, because it's time. You know, it's like we got to tighten up the set
I
and all
gotta-
that stuff. So
I gotta remember how the songs go. I have no freaking clue anymore. So, you guys, somebody want to send me the MP3s again? I don't.
yeah, it's on
The cassettes.
they're on the way right now. In just a sec.
Justin's got them on reel to reel. He'll bring it right over. But, hey, Justin, you talked about the band that you were playing with down in the Corvallis area. Was that Pseudoboss?
So no, it wasn't actually. There was an earlier iteration of Pseudoboss around the time with Noah Stroup and a couple other guys, and the revamped Portland-based Pseudoboss was like kind of a second coming of Pseudoboss. But no,
Okay.
I was called Honest to Empire, which was more straight ahead kind of metal influence stuff, and so that's kind of really where I cut my teeth as a musician. You know, went through the process of you know, kind of figuring it out, and there were, you know, a couple failures and a couple things along the way where we kind of we were a determined bunch of guys and kind of doubled down on our vision for that project. And you know, Charlie McGowan from Pseudoboss, he was the original drummer in that band too. And you know, 3 other guys that are still some of my closest friends actually. So just a lot of camaraderie and a lot of like figuring out how to do this live music thing and how to write songs and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, with the whole backdrop of college and higher education and all the fun stuff that comes along with that too. So yeah, a lot of good memories there.
Yeah. For your fans too. You know, I was a big fan of the band. I miss seeing the band around a lot. And I think it's interesting to see each of you in other projects and then coming together for this one, because stylistically I've seen you guys do so much across the board. You know, like, I mean, like I've been in bands with, you know, with you guys on stage in different times, doing everything from covers to, you know, some original stuff. And I think there's so much that's unspoken, right? When you're together with band members on stage, the fact that you guys all have this history outside of this band and the respect for each other, it's really going to be interesting to see the evolution of this thing, where the unspoken stuff comes out and you intuitively go places on stage, you know, dynamically and melodically. You know, I think as I know that Brandon, you and Jeff have been the primary songwriters, but it's certainly going to be influenced in different ways by the way that Justin, Patrick, and Kyle all play too. You know, so it's coming into its own in a really interesting way, because the band is blowing up on radio and social media, and the fact that it's evolving into something where now you guys are going to be hitting your stride is crazy. You know, I think who knows? I mean, we can't speculate about when things will change with the virus or anything like that, but it's great that you're productive, you know, and you're taking your time right now to do this the right way. I know that Larry Toering had something to do with some publicity as well, right? For the band. So tell me, I think he was working with the Orchard?
Yeah. Larry is you know, he and Monty are artists, and they have a distribution deal with a company called the Orchard, which is owned by Sony. And the only way for us to get distribution on that type of a level was to go, because in order to be part of the Orchard, you either have to sign a distribution deal with somebody, or you have to have a track record of I think it's 100,000 sales.
Okay.
And so, which we didn't have, obviously. So so I got together with Larry, Brandon and I actually got together with Larry and Monty and had a meeting and talked about it and talked about the opportunities and on how that could work. And we thought it was the hill that we wanted to climb, so we went ahead and did that, and signed a distribution deal with those guys, and it's been great, man. Larry is a hard worker, man. He and I were up last night till like 1:30 in the morning trying to ironing out some kinks, in the release, and uploading our new video and all that stuff, and that's like if you have one little thing that's wrong,
Right.
and you got to take a step backwards and read, and it's a process, man. So Larry, man, that guy he works tirelessly, and those guys are doing really good. They've got a bunch of releases coming out this week apparently, and so having a kink in the hose at that point is and if Larry, I mean, he gets full on, he gets full on animated and the whole bit.
Well, he's passionate.
But he's a very passionate human, man, and having somebody like Larry and Monty on your team is just, I know they're going to get the work done. If something goes wrong, he gets very passionate is the best way to describe it, and I just know it's going to get handled, so working with those guys has been a cool thing, because they do all that extra work that I definitely wouldn't have time for, and I know Brandon hasn't had the time for it, but it's just it's making sure that all the metadata and all that stuff, so did I freeze up?
You did a tiny bit, but we got the gist of what you're saying. I think about the relationships that you talked about outside the band, right? So there are 5 guys in the band, but I remember when you guys were forming this thing together and you put together the Ready for Dead video, you had Dan Pred there shooting that video. Yep. Dan, another amazing partner to have in this scene. He's got his Dan Reed Network pedigree, but he's a really talented video producer and editor. And then, you think about components that people outside the musician scope don't understand how many hats you have to wear, how many connections there have to be in order to break a band, right? So you've got, it's funny that you're the one that's staying up all night with Larry trying to work out the kinks of this distribution, but really, I mean, ultimately you're artists. All of you are artists, right? And as artists, it shouldn't be really expected, or in some respects, not often expected, that you have the marketing prowess to understand how to get distribution happening, or to deal with social media development, or getting radio promotion, or any of that stuff. And so it's been a learning process for you, Jeff. It's amazing. Sure. You're getting quite an education in addition to the fact that you're learning how to work your voice. And I have, it's probably a little different, right, Patrick, than when you were breaking with Black and Blue in 1980.
It's night and day different. I don't even understand how a band can make it right now. How do you break a band these days? I'm like, I think God, Jeff is diving in and figuring this stuff out, because it's so different than back in the 80s. It's nothing the same. I mean, not even close.
Money's a lot better, isn't it? We can all laugh. It's okay. Laugh, guys.
It's interesting because I mean, like I'm also working with Rough Cut, and Dave Alford and Chris Hager and Stephen St. James, and we're doing some demos for a new release and stuff right now, and bringing everybody up to speed, and it's like Dave wants to record drums a certain way and talking to the people a certain way. It's really similar to what Patrick's talking about right there, and I've just had to hook on to guys like Tom and trust, and Tom has definitely earned my trust, that's for sure. And and then having all these other key players in place, and having friends helping out, like Maury Brown, he's been helping me out with Twitter, and really pushing the band on Twitter to his audience, and all that kind of stuff makes a difference, and I'll tell you, man, it's been hard work. Like I said, I was up to 1:30 in the morning last night, working out the kinks on a YouTube upload, and then I was up at 6 and I had to do an interview with Mankato, Minnesota, and then here we are again. You know, I hardly got a breath in between. But it's awesome though, because we have things like Zoom now where we can talk and you know, communicate, you know, especially in a situation like we're in right now, but we can still be productive, you know, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
I mean,
So-
you've already developed a relationship with the community. You know, you talked about people like
Yeah.
Maury that have helped push, but every one of you guys has networked in this region, right? You know, between Patrick, you and Brandon with Black and Blue, you've got that networking community. Justin, you've got a whole suite of bands that you performed with as well, you know, and so you've got your external audiences outside of the loyal order, and I wouldn't even call them fans, because these people believe in you guys like friends, you know. And so when you've got a new project that is substantial and that they believe in, they've been aggressive about wanting to support you, you know.
Yes, yes.
I think if you were assholes and you didn't, you know, develop any kind of connections locally with like emotional connections and relationships, then there's no way that people are going to want to support that, right? So
Mhm.
you know, I talk about this quite a bit on the show about the effect that you have on others being a really valuable form of currency, right? And
Mhm.
even with Patrick involved, the curmudgeon of this group here, like even
What?
Patrick loves people sometimes, right? So,
Oh, Patrick loves everybody, man. Everybody loves Patrick.
he does. I think Patrick has a secret Larry David side of him that pretends to be cranky, but I love it.
Kevin, you know, I got to tell you, man, the way that you do everything.
That was a good time to freeze up. What was that, buddy?
It's the way that.
Ooh, huh?
Oh, I know.
What?
You said that. What were you saying, Jeff? Sorry.
I just was telling you, I mean, that's, you know, like what you're doing right now, all the network that you have and the, you know, the positive impact that you've made in the industry with just being you, you know, it's, you know, this thing that we're doing right now with you, it's just, it's like one of my favorite things to do during the day. I'll like at least catch part of almost every interview, you know, I try to anyway. Yeah. And it's just, you know, not only you're a gifted drummer and super talented, but this is another side of you that, you know, and I've witnessed it personally, you know, you know, in random environments, how you can just connect people really fast, and you know, and it's usually comical, but but you know how to do it, you know, and that's
different.
super,
Now
that's
that
a great thing.
Well, you started, didn't you kind of start doing it when you're out on the road? You were doing, was it Periscope or what were you doing?
No, I did.
Live videos?
Usually did Facebook Live. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
did.
I wasn't sure if it was Periscope or what, or Facebook Live, but you're doing that all the time out on the road too. I was watching some of those.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know how it is when you're out on the road and you're backstage. It could go one of two ways. You can be hanging out in the dressing room or the catering, you know, and you know, kind of shooting the breeze there. But for me, I loved running around, and because my kids were home and my oldest son being a drummer, I always wanted to show him the drum kit and show him like, check it out, man, we're at the Greek Theater, you know, look at this setup. And so it was really meant for me to kind of just share it with my kids, to take them on the road with me. And then, you know, people would feed in and say, oh, it's kind of like we're hanging out backstage without, you know, having a backstage pass. And the all access thing really did come that way. And this was all an accident, you know, or my show, whatever you want to call it, came from me talking to our guitarist and on a live conversation. And Jennifer Batten said, hey, you know, you really ought to consider doing a podcast. And I thought, you know, a million people have podcasts and I don't feel like I have anything valuable to add, but the conversation piece is really cool. And for me, I miss my connection with my community. You know, I miss my bandmates. I miss my touring mates. I miss people, my friends that we've made on the road. And it's a selfish thing for me to do this and just get to catch up with people. What I have noticed is that you talked about Pete Holmes the other day. You know, Pete's gone through the ringer the last couple of years, man. And we talked about it on the air. And afterwards he said, man, it was therapeutic. It was really helpful. Some of my friends that have been stuck in quarantine that really haven't been able to perform, and they've been so isolated that they feel like it's impacted them in a really negative way emotionally. And so they're kind of afraid and they're coming apart at the seams. And when we have this connection, even if it's through this digital format where we're talking, it's been helpful, been cathartic. For me, it's been amazing to at least have positive communication with people every day. Didn't expect to do it every day at all, man. We're 55 episodes in a month and a half or 2 months, and but I do know that there may be a handful of people out there that don't know the Loyal Order, that as soon as they hear the Loyal Order for the first time, whether it be my community or, finding you guys on the radio, they're blown away, and that's kind of a new dynamic, right? That people can find new music by a different word of mouth, that they're not trading tapes anymore, but every bit of work, Jeff, that you're doing with the distribution group and Tom Hazart and you guys working with Rob Dacre and having his input on the production is really key too, because he can be objective and outside, the creative space. And, like the five of you guys, this collective unit is unique and really special. And so I was excited to do a group thing where we could talk about this thing. It's a quote unquote new band, but you've all been around here for a long time, but it's an opportunity for people to discover something so vastly different than what's being presented out there. And I think once you guys get on the road, if you're planning on doing that, do you think that's the next sort of, once things open up, do you guys plan on maybe taking this thing to the Monsters of Rock cruises and the tour circuit, getting on with some other nationals?
Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. The show in Texas that we're talking about doing, Ellefson and those guys are doing the thing down there, and it's just talk at this point,
Sure.
but doing that kind of thing and hooking up with like maybe Shiprocked or something like that would be really cool. I really want to do Europe, so that's kind of, we're reaching out over there right now. So
Right.
Yeah.
And hey, we just had somebody else connected. Looks like his ears must have been burning.
Yeah.
Tom
Sure.
Hazard, you must have heard us talking about you. Good to see you.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, man. So unfortunately, I don't have any of my fancy shit with me today. I'm in a hotel in Madison, so I don't have my big fancy mic. I feel so weird and utilitarian doing it like this, but
But at least you shaved for the gig, and that's cool, man.
yeah, I did.
I appreciate that.
Proper
Tom-
facial hygiene is very important to me.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, this is Kevin Rankin. He's our guy, and he's the drummer for us. He played with Animotion for a while, and now he's with Flock of Seagulls. And
That explains the hair.
There you go.
yeah. And Kevin, this is Tom Hazart, singer extraordinaire with behind the scenes of rock and roll, man. He's the guy.
Yeah, Tom, I've actually watched from afar. I've heard about you for the last couple of years from Jeff, and then did the deep dive long ago just to see what you've been doing, and it's pretty remarkable, man. I'm really, really impressed, and it's cool. I feel like these guys in the band are my brothers, right? And so when I feel like somebody's taking good care of my brothers, then I feel like there's some synergy, there's some commiseration between us. So thank you for taking good care.
They're right here under my wing, man. That's where they're hanging out. And I love it. I love Jeff. I love Brandon. I love these guys. And we've been talking about this for a couple of years. I mean, this whole thing goes back literally a couple of years, with him sending me stuff and sending me Ready for Dead, and us kind of plotting and planning, and hey, maybe you should do radio, and kind of finally taking that step. It was like a 1.5-year process from then to now, and now everything's great, and it's really happening, and it's so fun. In that time, it took them so long to figure it out that in that time I started a band, and now I have singles at radio.
Right. Let's make this about you, Tom. Let's hear. Tell me about that band.
I don't need to. I think you already know about that band.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about your vision for Loyal Order. What do you see that you really want to help make happen in the next year or so?
I mean, look, we've already kind of done it. We took this really cool project and we built it into a cool national, band. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. And the radio stuff speaks for itself. We're about to release another single, and this one's still going. And the band just shot another amazing video for another new track that's going to come out. I mean, look, I want to get them out on the road playing some shows, and the same thing I want to do. I'm going to go and play some damn shows and I think I'm gonna drag them out and just make them play some shows with us. So
Yeah.
I mean, look, I want to see them go out and capitalize on all this stuff we've built while we're sitting at. And I remember me and Jeff had a conversation right when coronavirus was starting to hit, and I said, look, let's not let this derail anything we're doing. Let's do the opposite. Let's take this and use it to our advantage and really just build the band in this time. And that's what we set out to do, and we did.
You know, you really do see a lot of people take that opportunity. The people in the creative space that are really driven, they do seem to take this opportunity right now where the world's shut down, and instead of sitting by and waiting for things to open back up, they've said, no, man, I'm going to do something to evolve.
Yeah.
You know, the partnership that you had, you were pairing them up so that I think you mentioned they're going to go out on tour with Taylor Swift, right? The Taylor Swift.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, you know, and it will help her career quite a bit, I think.
I mean, she needs it though. I mean, she needs
You know,
this kind of street cred we can bring to the table.
not only that, but you want to surround yourself with people better looking than you, right? So I think the Low Order is the right gang for that.
Hey, look at Jeff. I mean, look at him.
I know it's that sexy beast, man. So if they were to go out with you guys, do you envision kind of doing a series of like short runs, or would you want to go off and do it?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, look, right now everything is speculation. We're going to go out and do some shows in October, I think, in Texas, and I think we might do a couple shows with our buddies in Saliva, which will be fun. And you know, again, you know, wherever I can, I already told Jeff, wherever we can squeeze them on something. You know, I think we're going to be out most of October doing stuff, and you know, I already told Jeff, like, look, wherever we can squeeze you on, you want to come jump in and open, you know, I'd love to have you. You know, so who knows, man? Everything in the world is still so tentative. But look, I know that the only thing that's going to work right now, anytime in the near future, is small level shows, club theaters, basically bands playing in bigger places, so there can be social distancing, so there can be kind of half capacity, all these weird restrictions that are obviously, unfortunately, very necessary, I think. And so again, we'll see what happens and what works, and we're still trying to figure it out too, you know?
Yeah. You said you're in Madison right now, Madison, Wisconsin?
What are you
doing there? What are you doing there?
Oh, now you want to make this about me again. I see. No, I'm so we're actually, and I guess this is an exclusive announcement because we haven't announced this yet, but we're actually so we're doing a covers record. So look, we're, you know, already deep into our actual like debut Ellefson record that's over half done now. And we just, for fun one day, we started just tracking all these covers for fun. And then it turned into like, dude, why don't we just do like a covers record? So we did. It's a lot of stuff that influenced me and David. We're doing like Wasp and Fastway and, you know, some other stuff. And, you know, we got some really cool guests that are going to play on it. And
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Taylor Swift,
Cool, right on.
Taylor Momsen, Taylor Hawkins, her own name Taylor, ironically
Nice.
enough. But yeah, so I'm actually here tracking my vocals for that. That's what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be there right now. Actually, I got here last night. I literally did 4 songs last night. I have another 4 or 5 I have to do before I leave. So it's brutal, man. And they're not easy songs on the throat either, you know.
Tom, that song you did was a Wasp song, the LOV Love Machine.
Love Machine.
Oh, God.
Hey,
Oh,
all
yeah.
I need is my love machine.
Hello. Yeah, don't get me started, man. I got yeah. Like,
Yeah, no, so I'll tell you this. So last night I did Love Machine. We're doing Say What You Will by Fastway.
nice.
We're doing Rebel Yell, which I love. And, you know, me and David are both huge Billy Idol fans. So that was one we've always, for years, since we kind of started this band, we're like, dude, let's do a Billy Idol cover. You know, so we're doing that. We're doing Nailed to the Gun by Fight, which David actually did in F5. And Rob Halford always loved that he did it. So we're doing that. And so I'm super stoked. And that was one of the other songs I sang last night too, which is,
Right on.
again, one of those things that's, you know, yeah. So I got a ton more I got to go do. And, you know, yeah, that's why I'm in Madison. My friend Matt LaPlante, who has a great studio here. He did some of the Non-Point records, Skindred, Flaw. I mean, he's a amazing producer and engineer. And I pretty much go there now and I live in Green Bay, so I'm a couple hours up the road. So I just come up here and do all my vocals with him.
I think Butch Vig is right up the street there too, isn't he?
I don't know if he still is. He was. I actually,
Okay.
me and my daughter drove down here. I took my daughter to see Falling in Reverse right before when concert. Remember concerts? You remember those? So I took my daughter to see Falling in Reverse in Madison. My buddy Randy Hawk at JJO hooked me up, and I got to watch it from the JJO suite. It was amazing. But so me and my daughter the next day, I actually took her to where Butch Vig's studio was, and we kind of took some pictures there, and so the original studio where he did all the stuff,
Yeah, the guy did all right. So a couple years ago when you and Jeff first met up, I remember Jeff coming back from LA talking about it. What did you see as potential early in those days? Because that, you get approached, I'm sure, by a ton of bands that want to help, sort of break a band open. But what did you see in the Loyal Order that you thought, okay, this is something legit that I can get behind?
I mean, look, honestly, legitimate when we first started, we'd met in person actually first. I think we met at Headbanger Con. Me and David went out for that, and I think that's where we actually met. And me and Jeff had kind of been friends and talked on Facebook. And so again, I mean, look, the reality is our first conversations, it was just business like everything else. But then as I and we talked about before I even heard anything or got anything. But I know Jeff, I know he's a serious guy. I know Brandon, I know he's a serious guy, and I respect the shit out of both of them and their talent. And so again, look, the reality is it started as a business conversation, and and then it turned to, he sent me the stuff, and I'm like, this is a really great song. You know what I mean? And it's again, look, I mean, again, it's the proof's in the pudding. When you see what the song's doing and how it's reacting, and I do stuff all the time, and I keep telling Jeff, like right now, we're kind of at the best case scenario because everything cool that could have happened kind of did. You know what I mean? It's like it's a really positive reaction, and it's been really great.
That's cool, man. It's rare for me to see that side of things, where you can see somebody behind the scenes is helping make this thing happen. And it really is a collaborative effort. I know Jeff, you talked about these different connections you've made, and you're really having to carry a lot of the weight. Do you delegate any of these other these responsibilities to?
No, I mean, look, we have Eric Baker, who's our radio guy, and Jody, who's our person who does classic rock radio. Yeah. And we have a couple of great publicists who help with stuff. But I mean, look, a lot of it's I coordinate everything and kind of coordinate all the moving parts and all the moving pieces. And obviously, clearly, a lot of the credit goes to Eric Baker and Concrete and Jody and the people kind of. But I'm the one who knows all those people and knows to call those people. So again, I'm kind of the guy in the middle pulling the strings,
Yeah, puppet master.
Tom's the puppet master and quarterback,
Nice.
That's it. And it's and that's what's cool. I mean, Tom has been, he's been around the industry for quite. I mean, he's friends with Corey Taylor, for God's sakes. You know, I mean, he knows a lot of, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's like, so and having the relationship happen there with these guys, the MP label group, and Tom and David. It's been it kind of gives you a cuts, so to speak, as far as trying to figure out who to talk to and doing all that stuff, and just having somebody in place like that, it's plug and play.
Yeah.
And then
I always tell bands when I talk to bands or they're hiring me or working on things, it's like, look, a band can usually get there themselves, but what I do is working with me is it's just like it's kind of like giving you a map. You know what I mean? You can eventually just drive around until you get there, maybe. But I kind of have a map, and I've driven that road so many times. I kind of know where the pitfalls are and the detours, and kind of how to get from point A to point B without going to point C, D, E, F, and G first.
Yeah. Every band needs that GPS, man. That's
for sure.
I noticed that some of the comments that popped up on the Facebook Live, everybody's asking if they get to hear anything new. Is there anything that you can sneak on your phone with like a 2-bar phrase or anything that you want to share?
Oh, dude, yeah, I could send you a little something, I suppose.
Here, I'll tell you what, I can do it. I got it right here.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as the puppet master, as long as he's cool with it, then we're good to go.
I don't give a crap. It's coming out anyway.
Hey, Justin, is this your guitar solo that we're going to hear first? Yeah.
Could be.
What you got, Tom?
I got the new video. I guess.
There you go.
Oh, check this out.
Sent me from a week ago.
All right. So Cheryl Bland, here you go. This is
World
a request
premiere.
for you. World premiere. I'm going to share it so that you can actually share your screen. You want to do that?
Oh, I'm doing it on my phone. So.
Okay. No problem.
but otherwise I would have done that. But
All right. All right. So there you go. Perfect.
I can drop it over to you, Kevin, if you want.
there you go. That's all you get.
Yeah,
Good.
man. You know,
The first one's free.
that well, the good thing about that is that nobody's going to be stealing and downloading that
Nope.
quality. But it's but this is kind of a world premiere, man. I feel like
It totally is.
I feel
it
very
totally is.
special with this. Tom,
I mean, I'm pretty sure the only people that have seen that are internally Jeff and the band and me and our radio guy Eric and David, who I sent it to. I mean, yeah,
Yep.
I mean that's pretty much it.
that's a great team, man. I'm honored that you get to share that with us and with our people. Tom, you probably already know this, but the group of these guys is well regarded as the real premier players in this area. They
Absolutely.
got a lot of fans and a lot of support up here. I know that quite a few people are alongside this Facebook Live enjoying this. If they wanted to stay in touch and follow the progress in this band, besides maybe just watching, the Loyal Order's Facebook page, what's the best way to engage and help support this band?
I mean, obviously, kind of the hub of all things is the Loyal Order Facebook page, but I mean, you can follow our pages too, David Ellison, my pages, and we obviously share everything they kind of do, and sort of help push along the progress too. But again, I do know the website's even up, is it, Jeff?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, theloyalorder.com has been for Kevin. Actually, is our guy. So
It better be up, otherse I'm in
There you go.
trouble.
It better be up, Kevin. Where's the store, Kevin?
That wasn't. Oh yeah. So if you go to shopify.com/theloyalorder, but yeah, there is a link to the store, and you can buy the shirts. I think through the site.
yeah.
right now,
Yeah,
too.
it's all put together, Tom. It's just not.
You can buy
I gotta do a couple things. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
put together.
www.theloyalorder.com. You can check them out there. Tom Hazart and Dave Ellison making their thing happen on that end. I want to thank Kyle Baltus for being here earlier. He's out pulling weeds for his dad right now. So
All right, Kyle.
he's coming to my place next. Brandon, Patrick, Justin, Buhner, and Tom. Tom, it's great to meet you for sure.
Thank you. It's great to meet you. Look at my hotel room. Aren't you guys jealous? Like, look at how exciting this is.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I like that you hid the stripper around the corner. That was nice, man.
Out in the hallway.
Yeah. Just like being on the road, man. Love it. Yeah.
This is being on the road. That's the only lady in my life.
I love it. Yeah.
Leaning right there. That's
Really? You could. Well, you drove down from Green Bay. Yeah, it's hard to find.
I did, and usually when we're on tour, Melody's with us too, but she's in Arizona, so
Okay.
and hopefully
Yeah.
Jeff gave some props to her for all the amazing artwork she's doing. And
Yeah.
I can't wait till everybody sees the cover, man. The cover for the album is so cool.
Kevin saw that. Has seen the cover.
Oh,
I
my
showed Kevin
God.
that. Yeah, it's so cool.
And somebody leaked it yesterday. I saw on the web as well. So
Yeah,
Did they?
yeah,
They-
just
Who leaked
it went up, and then I
it came
think
down
it
quickly.
came out. Yeah, I didn't call them out, but I thought, oh man, I thought I was one of the first to get to see that thing. But that cover's incredible, man. Yeah, the collage that you did with Taylor Swift again was incredible. But I really appreciate you guys letting me have fun with you. I definitely think that check out theloyalorder.com, check out their Facebook page. Right now, they're blowing up the Billboard charts, and get behind them now. Get them while you can, because this band is not going to be a Portland band very much longer. So, anything else that you guys want to share before we say goodbye?
Dude, just thank you for having us, man. It was really cool to. I haven't even talked to these guys in a few days, so it was nice.
Actually, I think me and Jeff talked Wednesday. We had a
Yeah,
little
something like that.
strategy
Yeah.
call. So yeah,
Yeah.
all right, well, I'm gonna go rock some and go sing some 80s covers, because that's my life now.
I can't wait to hear you sing Love Machine, man.
I'll send it to you. I got the rough done of it. I'll email me. Get my email from Jeff. Email me. I'll forward you the rough of Love Machine. It's so dope.
You got
Yeah.
it, man. You got it. Hey, Brandon, Justin, Patrick, thank you guys too, man. I appreciate you hanging out,
Yeah.
even though I chatted most of the time. But and Jeff,
All good.
congratulations. I'm proud of all of you guys.
Thank you,
Tom,
man.
No,
Pleasure
it's
to meet
good.
you.
You know, at least it wasn't a horrible clusterfuck that it could have been. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
good.
Oh, wait, we can fucking swear? Fuck. I've been sitting here
Yeah.
holding back this whole fucking time. Like, I don't know. I never know where things are broadcasting or what's going on because everything looks like this. I do a radio interview, it looks like this. Like,
Right.
we use WebEx. We're Cisco guys, so we use WebEx for everything. But yeah, everything in the fucking world looks like this, so I just don't fucking swear. So fuck.
We
It's
just
nice.
did 74
Fuck, fuck, fuck.
times, so it's all good.
You
I
got
think
your
I
quote
just set
in.
a world record.
Yeah, that was the George Carlin episode. I appreciate
Yeah.
that, man. Yeah. You guys are awesome, man. I'm glad to see you healthy. Everybody's doing well. Keep keep strong and healthy and strong minded. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Loyal Order does soon. You guys are beautiful humans.
All right,
Cool.
love you,
Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you
Bye.
guys. Have a great weekend.
Love you, brother. Talk
I love
soon.
you
man.
too. Peace.
Take care.